Pleasure to meet. Great pleasure to meet you, Catherine. I've been watching your movies for a long time, and I think Plush is probably still my favorite.
Whoa, I love it. Oh, that's awesome. Hey, I got a couple of good Aussies in that movie too.
Yeah, Xavier and Emily. I have a
Yes,
feeling that you like working with Aussies. Is that correct?
I do. I mean, you guys are so talented and creative and fun. And like I was just saying, like Heath Ledger, Tony is insane, you know. Now, can I see is that a picture of you behind you? What is that? Oh, Face Off. Oh, that looks like you on the right. Okay,
Oh,
cool.
well, thank you. I've never been told I look like John Travolta before.
Well, it kind of, for a minute, I thought it was you. Okay,
All right.
cool.
I'm sorry to let you down.
No, it doesn't let me down.
All right. Well, we're here for Tell It Like a Woman. Firstly, it's an anthology, and I didn't see that coming when I first started watching it. I thought it might have just been a combination of short films, a little bit shorter than they are, but they're actually really great stories. Were they all based on fact? I mean, in particular, your ones?
Well, my two were based on a real person and real stories that the real person told me. The rest of them were more from the imagination, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you had Marcia Gay Harden playing Dr. P in the segment you directed. That was a lovely little performance from her, and a nice touch how you was shown the original doctor, the actual doctor at the end of that.
Yes, and didn't they look almost exactly alike? That was so cool. I mean, honestly, they stood side by side on the set and they bonded and they learned a lot from each other. And then they had the same eyeshadow, the same hair. It was outright, they were twins.
Yeah, exactly. Great casting. I think, did it come your way? Like, I think it would have been something you might have pursued because they were, we do it together, the organization that, it is benefiting. Is that something you've been part of before the movie? Had it been a long time planning?
Well, Chiara had contacted me about the organization. I said, yes, I'm supportive of it. Of course, I love it. And then she said, well, I want you to make a segment, in this film. And so, she kept the faith. It took a little while to get the money, but then she finally said, we've got the money, let's do it, And so I found Dr. P and did research and found her and went and met her and watched her at the clinic and helped out and volunteered a little bit. And then I also found Kim Carter and went to her
Yeah.
facility and met her and watched her. And they both told me all these stories. And then I kind of picked those two stories.
Yeah, I was totally unaware of LA's Project Room Key. Was it something that was you were aware of at the time, or where were you during the COVID pandemic? Were you at home?
Oh yeah, I was here. And so the Project Room Key, there's a hotel like right next to me. Because I live on Venice Beach, and there's
Yeah.
a very large encampment like right outside my house of homeless people. And then one hotel took over as Project Room Key. So it was a pretty cool thing that the most vulnerable people, were allowed to be inside during the pandemic.
Yeah, I thought it was an amazing initiative, and it's people really stuck together during that bad time. I mean, it's still not over, I guess, but it's something of a positive. The Project Room Key.
Right. It was really great. And in fact, I think the hotel right near me hasn't even changed back yet. You know, they've
Good.
yeah, they still, I think they're cleaning it up and changing it. But no, it was really great because people did have housing and they had rules and things. Not everybody wanted to be part of it, but it was great. The hotels that opened up, I mean, they weren't able to function as a hotel anyway. So
No.
that got to get some money and everything. So it was great for the government to do it. Yeah.
Another cast member in the segment you directed was Cara Delevingne, and it's very hard to make her not attractive or not appealing, but she did a great job acting as well.
She's pretty great. I mean, we've found a lot of women that look kind of like her and all those things. And our makeup artist did a beautiful job, I think, with little scars and sores and, you
Mm.
know, she's in that hair, was so matted. But Cara really wanted to get into it in a very real way. She stayed in that character for several days. She walked around at night when I told her not to, downtown LA, just
Did she?
like by herself. I'm like, Cara, you did not do that. Oh yeah, I did. And they wouldn't even let her back into the hotel where we were staying. They thought she was homeless. She goes, actually, no, I'm working on the movie. But that was before we had a vaccine. We shot this. So,
All right.
kind of a little bit of a scary time, and people were a bit nervous. So that's why I kind of moved my segment outside by the pool instead of inside a little room, because Marcia and myself, everybody, we didn't want to be in a tiny little space.
Yeah. Did it change your directing style because you had maybe a smaller amount of crew and you had to be outdoors and there was restrictions? Did it change you as a director?
Yes, I think personally, I like smaller crews. So
I bet.
fine with me. And then the whole crew were all women too. I mean, we had maybe a couple guys, but so that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
And it was only people that were brave enough to shoot without the vaccine. So, that was a nice camaraderie.
Yeah, because the actors themselves sometimes pulled their masks off and acted without masks. So
Right.
obviously there was still precautions being made, even though they didn't have the masks on.
Right. And Cara didn't really feel like her character would wear the mask. So, and I'm happy that she did take it off because we were outside. So I don't think there was any risk. But, I now I look at it and I hate those masks so much that every
Agreed.
time Cara took it off, I'm like, yay, no mask. And I'm like, why didn't we take them all?
It was a great setting. At the time of filming, were you allowed to just use the whole area yourself, or was it all planned that you had restricted time to film?
Well, they let us use that pool rooftop area because there were no guests in the hotel. So,
Yeah.
and but you still had to have the sanitation person come up and just be sure, they had to have all the precautions, but it worked out really well because it was a nice contrast, I think, to her, being at this clear pool, and wrapped up in plastic, and she has to be unwrapped.
Yeah. Yeah, it was quite sad. And it took her acting, for her dramatic acting doesn't probably get seen enough, but Cara took me into her character. I actually believed it was her. The way she was not just dressed, but her acting skills. So I hope you do work with her again in a longer format, in a feature.
Oh, I love working with Cara. She's very open and just very creative. She came over here. She worked on the clothes. She, drew the little details, wrote the notes all over. She really got deep into it. And she's just creative and very fluid and very versatile. So I'm like madly trying to write other scripts and draw her back.
Good, good. I saw you also wrote the first segment in the movie, just as a writer. Pepsi and Kim, I hope I'm saying that correctly. Where did that idea come from, or was based on another scenario that was true?
That was based on another woman that I found, Kim Carter, who was very intent, amazing woman. And I drove out to her facility, and I just saw this amazing operation she had going, where she could take women from the street that were in the lowest level of their life, really, and then help them straight out of prison, learn how to use a computer, learn how to clean themselves up, learn how to get a job, learn how to live and pay bills and get their kid back. And she was living proof that this could be done with, I saw 25 women that were just, steps to recovery. And this was Kim. And Kim had been there just like 20 years before,
Wow.
worse off than they were. And she still had a vision to help other people. And she's still really carrying it out in a strong way, beautiful way.
Oh, it was amazing to see real footage of her as well at the end of the segment. Could you extend either of those segments that you were a part of into features, do you think? Or is
Oh,
it, or maybe more anthologies to tell further stories of those
yeah.
characters, those people?
I think Kim's story would be very easy to be a feature because she really came from a very, very, tough childhood.
Yeah.
That the teenage to 20 something years are just rock bottom,
Mm,
horrible. And then now what she's done is off the charts, and she's funny and wild too. Like we went to the UN with this project, and at the UN, every time we did a panel after the movie, and every time it was her turn to speak, she electrified the audience. She's
fabulous.
just so powerful and fun, and she's hilarious. So I feel like her story would be very easy. In fact, when I first took it to Halle Berry, she wanted to do it as a feature too.
Oh, wow. Well, there you go. Halle Berry is such a wonderful actor, and if she's on board for something, she obviously believes in it.
My God, yeah. And then of course Jennifer Hudson ended up playing the
Yeah.
part. She was fantastic. I mean, she's, incredible too. So
A little bit like Cara, that somehow Jennifer Hudson was not unattractive, but just played differently to how you would expect her. And I know her range is strong, but really proved it again in that first segment.
I was there on the set, but I was almost shocked when I saw how raw she was,
Yeah.
and the multiple personalities, and she dove into it in a beautiful way. Yeah.
Being a writer and not a director on that segment, did you ever like step in and give advice, or do you separate the two if you're only doing one on a project?
Well, in that case, I think Taraji knew what she wanted to
Yeah.
do. She was like, I'm ready to go. And I was not going to get in her way.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. This is already probably, I know the answer, but how important is it to tell women's stories, and is there progress? I mean, you've come a long way, obviously, since Twilight and even before that, but has it progressed through the Me Too movement and Time's Up? Are female stories getting out there more and equality?
Yeah, well, it's interesting because we did look at the statistics from the Annenberg Institute this year, and we have less women in the top, directing slots than we
Yeah,
had last year, the year before. So I guess it's not a steady progress, but in television, certainly there's a mandate. There's a lot more women directing, which is hopeful because that means they're going to have more experience,
yeah.
better chance to get hired. So there's a lot of good things, and people are brave to tell these stories. So yeah, I think it's getting better. But how important, let me go back to that. I was
Yeah.
very impressed with the UN diplomats and delegates. Before we showed the movie at the UN, they spoke about with actually a lot of clarity and insight about filmmaking and how impactful the media is. They were literally talking, diplomats from Italy, talking about the male gaze and
Wow.
this, and how
Yep.
there could be a direct impact of the way a woman is portrayed, just her body, how she's shot, and how
Mm.
that impacts sexual assault in their home country. And they were making very vivid connections. And yeah, it was really exciting to see that people were that savvy, and sophisticated about viewing and
Mm.
wanting to make a change.
Yes, sadly, I'm guessing some movies are classified or aren't allowed or banned due to certain subject matter like that in countries, which is, a variation of free speech when movies get banned. Have you ever experienced that where one of your films or stories or something hasn't been allowed to be shown?
Well, I haven't heard about that, but I'm sure there's countries that
Mm.
I'm sure that could be the case. Yeah, I mean, 13 even was,
Yeah,
controversy for people to see. Oh, teenagers don't act like that, but yeah, they do. And that was a true story, you know. So yeah,
yeah.
it's tough for people to see, raw facts sometimes.
Yeah, just a side note on 13. When I was growing up, one of my first jobs was in a independent theater, and I was a projectionist when we used to put film onto the projector. And 13 ran for like, it wasn't a first run, but it came in a bit later, and it just kept on running. Parents would come with their children, and groups would come to see it, and it ran for about a month.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's
Um,
amazing.
back in the day. So there's a compliment for a movie that I've seen recently and holds up. I bet you're proud of it still.
Yeah, it still seems to touch a lot of people, I think, because it was one of those, it was kind of more raw and more, I mean, I wrote it with a 13-year-old girl and she's in the movie,
Yeah, okay.
so.
At the moment, in and around Hollywood, there's a pretty proficient writer's strike. What is your opinion on that? You stand with those people who also stand up?
I'm in the Writers Guild, so I was shooting something yesterday, but I think next week I'm gonna go down and, get in the picket line and learn even more about it. I've been working every second, so I haven't gotten into
Sure.
all the weeds, but from everything I know, things need to change.
Oh,
And
yeah.
I feel like it is something that it is disturbing when you see these giant salaries for certain CEOs and then they're just nickel and diming you for everything. So, we need a little more balance, I think.
I hope it progresses and successfully for everyone involved. I'm right behind you from down under, at least. I always remember hearing you tell a story that you got a cupcake for your success of Twilight. I mean, honestly, that is embarrassing. It's funny, but it's also embarrassing, Catherine. Like a cupcake,
No, it was a mini
a
cupcake.
mini one. That's even worse.
It was these little mini cupcakes. I'm like, wow, okay, cool. You know.
Well, what about the subject that Twilight will be turned into a television series? Have you been approached to do any writing or directing on those potential episodes?
I think it's very early, like they're just, in the very early stages of developing it. But,
Yeah.
I haven't heard anything for me directly, but maybe it's good for somebody new to just take a whole new. I mean, if I did it, I'd want to do it in outer space anyway, something different,
Good. Good. Well,
I've
your
already
film,
done it in the forest, so let's go somewhere else.
exactly. Yeah, something different. Your film and possibly Eclipse were the best of the whole series. So, I'm really stoked that yours stands the test of time anyway.
Oh, thank you. Oh, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, before
That's
we wrap it up, just one final word on Tell It Like a Woman. In your own words, why should people watch the movie Down Under in Australia and New Zealand? You have a connection with us because you've used so many of our great talent. Why should people choose to watch Tell It Like a Woman?
I mean, I think one thing that's great about Tell It Like a Woman is you really see some very different perspectives of filmmakers from Argentina, from Italy, from the US, from Japan. You see a
Yeah.
slice of life into this Japanese woman's life. You India, it was just kind of amazing for me to just take a round the world tour by watching these movies and getting into the spirit of all these women. So yeah, I think hopefully they will enjoy it and appreciate it.
Well, keep up the great work, Catherine. Your legacy is undoubtedly just amazing. I mean, Plush is one of my favorites. You're even part of Thrashin with Josh Brolin. I mean, you're part of that. And you
I've got the skateboard from Thrashin is right there
is that
on
what
the
that is? Oh, amazing.
one on the left. Yeah.
I have a bootleg. I had a bootleg copy of Thrashin for years until I was able to buy it on Blu-ray.
You're awesome.
Thanks, Catherine. Enjoy the success that I know you'll have. Keep going in the future, and thanks for your time. Good luck with Tell It Like a Woman. Maybe we'll see another anthology soon.
Yeah, cool. Well, thank you.
Bye.
Bye, Jane.
Thank you.